the today's culture is more based on having some kind of an experience and creating an identity. Oh, I had this enlightening moment, and now I can wear a medal and I can tell everyone that I had this enlightening moment and I'm enlightened, instead of actually seeing that the only thing that these traditions are useful in is the cultivation of this disposition to face life. Experiences come and go. I think I have an enlightening moment, and next thing I turn around and I'm more lost than ever and disturbed, and it's this whole process like you shared. I'm gonna hate the haters, and I'm gonna find something to be disturbed and self-righteous about, and then it just keeps perpetuating the vicious cycle. And in these traditions, the main thing is to develop this disposition, this attitude towards life that is not based on my capricious personality construct and how I like this thing and I don't like this, and I'm always resisting life and I want things to be a certain way, and I'm constantly upset and triggered and it's everything else's fault. And then how can I take responsibility? So these traditions are pointing to that. And it's very tricky because it's this monkey mind that is very untrained and then is in a way sabotaging everything that is being done and adapting and coming to spiritual tradition and then creating an identity around that. Or before I was nice and friendly, and now I'm also going to be spiritual. I'm going to add another label to myself. And I'm going to be better than everyone else because this is what I'm doing. And everyone else are lost and confused, and I'm doing something and I know better than them. And that's not how these traditions were meant to be applied. And so there is a big difference between our modern mentality and the ancient way. And even for the indigenous people, it's very hard because they're no longer living in a society and a culture that is honoring that inner evolutionary journey. And then they also have to somehow survive and adapt to this world. And then they see, well, people just want to have a show. And that's what puts food on the table. And it's kind of like this consume and demand process. And then that's what they're providing. So, of course, if people would be coming to these traditions with a deeper meaning and intention, then they would also be responding to that. The indigenous people, they have this mirror-like approach to life, and it was essential for them to be able to actually thrive in the rainforest. Is this ability of nature to mimic and to respond and adapt. And so they come into this modern society that is based on superficial values and avoidance and instant gratification, and then they have to find a way to live in that society. So it's this kind of fragmentation that has been taking place, and there is also wisdom in that. So within these traditions, as I shared, there are those filtering mechanisms, and there is this ancient encoded language, and our institute is focusing specifically on that context to really see how life is a ceremony. And not just, it's a nice way to say it, but on a very practical level, and to recognize how every experience in one's life, not just within a spiritual path, but how everyone are on a spiritual path, and how there is a continuous communication that is coming to us from the greater organism. and it's very cohesive and coherent and meaningful if we are actually able to understand the language of nature, the language of the ancients, the language of life. So the work that I've done with different tribes is, in a way, pointing to the different pieces of the puzzle. And the elders that I worked with, and many of them are not around today, but another reason that I felt a deep connection with them, as I shared, of course, there is that ancient intergenerational approach and lineage, and a science, right? So the documentary, The Sacred Science, was based on that, where there was this ancient science of consciousness, of evolution, and it was woven into every aspect of people's lives. And it was based on this language of nature, which is also the dream language, that most of human history, people have engaged in that language. And today it is, in a way, abstragated and forgotten.